Hi, everybody, and welcome to Ankh, a podcast designed to give you permission to think differently and to push you to a new level of understanding and awareness. A safe space for powerful conversation, value exchanges between communities and generations. I'm your host, Gigi, and provider of happiness. I will be sharing with you perspective to nurture you. Yes, you. If you want to go outside your comfort zone in 2023 and enhance your full potential, well, you're at the right place, my friend. Yes. So please go ahead, link up with us by subscribing to our YouTube and Spotify channel to catch up our latest content. And don't forget, spread the word! Hi, everybody, and welcome to Ankh. Ankh is a podcast that gives you permission to think differently and to push you to a new level of awareness and understanding. A safe space where you tap into your level of abundance in all areas of your life and business. I am your host, Gigi, your provider of happiness. In today's conversation, we'll talk about the importance of body wellness. We know in our society, and especially at the moment, that the body is in the headline of every journal. So, what are we going to do with it? That's the question. And to talk about it, we have Aoife with us today. Aoife Deane, she's a nutritionist, hypnotherapist, and mind coach. Hi, Aoife. How are you doing?
Hi, Gigi. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. Actually, I want to notice that it's the first episode for Ankh and it's our first guest. So really, welcome.
Lucky me.
It's done, finally. So today's conversation is about the body. As you are a mind coach and nutritionist, can you give us a bit of overview of what you think the importance of the body in our society?
I think we can't get away from the importance of our body. I think to some degree it's kind of shoved down our throat from a very young age, maybe especially as women, you know, about our health and our diet and our weight. And I think at the moment how people talk about food and wellness and their body and stuff, it's not going so well. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the health statistics say it all, and, you know, there's an obesity crisis. And I suppose my personal story is I started dieting from a very young age.
True.
So you think it's the pursuit of wellness, but actually that can go horribly wrong, and you can develop a very messed up relationship with food where, you know, you've cheat days and bad days. And for me anyway, so from when I started dieting to my highest weight was 18 kilos. So that kind of terrible, unnatural relationship with controlling foods or being on foods or off foods, you know, it has a very negative effect on your weight. So I'm very passionate about what I do because I work with people one-to-one to change their relationship with food. And kind of, I suppose, an inspiration for me was, I think we nearly all have a slim friend who doesn't diet. Do you know what I mean? You might be her.
Yeah, we will have one.
So like there are healthy people out there that are slim and they're not trying every day. They're just eating the foods that they love, but they're not hurting themselves either. They're not eating diet products they don't like that then makes them eat a load of junk afterwards, and they're not making themselves uncomfortably full because they say they're going to be good tomorrow. So there's all this kind of language, I think, now around food that's kind of messed up.
True,
you know,
totally
about like being good tomorrow and the diet starts tomorrow and
always postponing, and then at the end there is that inner frustration because you are not pursuing what you want, the version of yourself that you are meant to be. So you putting that mental pressure on top that physical objective that you try to achieve. So
and you're screwing over the you of today. You know what I mean? Because if you overeat today, it's got consequences. You know, you could be like more tired or feel a bit gross, or like your pants are tighter or whatever it might be. So I think often people are thinking of like too big a picture about their total weight rather than how do I wish to feel today? And like, it'd be kind of cool if people came around to seeing it as like, your relationship with your body is like your relationship to another person.
True.
Like I couldn't be horrible to you today and be like, it's fine, Gigi, I'm going to be so nice to you next week. It's like
You don't know what
relationship.
to expect.
Yeah, like relationships don't work like that. It's
No,
kind of like,
true.
you know, that you always, even when you're not totally up for it, maintain some level of nice
Self-love.
Yeah, exactly.
For
And
yourself.
respect
Yeah.
and stuff.
True.
So that's the kind of area I work in. Yeah.
That's really a good area and passionate about it, because you have to be passionate about it in order to help people to be the best version of themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. And also when someone is working in wellness, they're the small voice. You know what I mean? Because I always think if like an alien came from outer space and watched TV in Ireland, they would presume that what food is KFC, McDonald's.
True.
There's no evidence of fruit and veg and lean foods anywhere. Like, and I was in Spain last week and they actually did have, you know, ads promoting fruit and veg, but like, you know, Doritos and all of those companies, they literally spend millions on their marketing every year. And so there's no competition.
True.
There's no one spending that on like pure wellness or fruit and veg or feeling well, you know what I mean? And that's technically the easier sell, like to feel good and to look good and to live longer and not get diseases. Like there's definitely a lot to promote there, you know?
Sure, you're right. And it is the fact that you talk about it bring us to the next question about the food and the marketing side, because in the wellness industry is so huge, and the idea is really not to make you be healthy, but to make you think that you're healthy, but you're just spending money and you're not achieving a goal, because your mind is how do you say that? Your mind is not your mind anymore. You depend on them. So how can you advise, guide, and educate the people around you and your passion, your client? Yeah.
I think like from the nutrition side of things, because I kind of tend to work in eating disorders, which can be more kind of low self-esteem, low confidence, all of those things causing us to treat ourselves badly. But from the nutrition side of things, like nutrition is actually like the more you learn, the more boring and simple it gets. Like because I'm finishing a master's now in nutritional medicine. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And like just the more you learn, the simpler it gets. Like as in, it doesn't matter where you're from in the world. Like the healthiest diet for being in that area would be to eat locally and seasonally.
Yes.
So they've done studies where like, you know, they compare the diet of Eskimos to the people in Thailand to wherever else. And what they're eating is quite different.
And
you know?
It's what the heart is producing.
Yes.
You know, it's not something that is scientifically made.
No.
And we need to go back as well to that level of... it's not only nourishing the body, because when you take care of your body, the food that you put will feed your thought.
Yes.
And based, if it's more sugar, it will impact different organs, and those organs will impact your mood. And there is really a lack of education in those areas.
Yeah.
So,
like, I think it's kind of like, you know, nice things are nice, but you don't want to get to the stage where you're just constantly draining yourself because like processed foods are like yummy for a taste or an experience or whatever. But if you're expecting your body to run on that, like your body is having a hard time to struggle through, and you're kind of draining yourself. And usually when I'm at like self-help or personal development seminars, when they start talking about nutrition, I'm like, oh no, what are they going to say? Because sometimes, because I had eating disorders, and sometimes they're too black and white about it. And that can trigger eating disorders as well. You know, feelings of feeling guilt and shame and remorse when you eat. But I heard one person say that, think of it in terms of life force. Do you know, like if you get a packet of crisps from the cupboard that's been there a year and a half, it's dried, you know, there could be an apocalypse and that will stay preserved. Do you know what I mean? That's not transferring any life to you. Whereas if you eat a pineapple or an orange, or depending on your beliefs, meat and fish and stuff, that was once growing. That was life.
True.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a health food basically is something that used to grow and was alive. And anything else is is never going to be as much of a health food as those foods. So like say diet products or like protein products for the average person who doesn't need them. It's like, that's not a health food. And like you're saying, that's really being marketed, you know?
It is. And the fact as well, you talk about nutrition, because for me, I transitioned from being a omnivore to a vegetarian when I turned 17. And my dad was like, she's just doing that to annoy you.
Phase or something.
Yeah, it was just a phase. She's a teenager. But I realized it really triggered my mind when I watch We Feed the World. And I saw all the circumcision. Yeah, circumcision.
Yeah.
And the mondialization, the Americanization, because no matter what, America has a big impact in the way of we eat. And from there, I start to look at my diet, and I didn't want to lack of any nutriment. So I start to read a lot of books to be able to compensate by myself. And the fact that I like to cook as well was just an asset on top of that. But nutrition is really important because you can find so many protein in the vegetal in the vegetarian food and vegan food, but there is a lack of knowledge that is shared, saying that only the protein animal are the best.
Yeah, so, exactly. And like in the healthiest diets in the world, like say the Thai diet or whatever, it's like they might have like half an egg and some shreds of chicken floating in their soup. Like, not many of the, or not any maybe, of the healthy diets in the world have as much meat and stuff as the Western diet now. Like,
true.
Like
it's way too much. And if we go back to the ancestry, the meat was not the main course, because there is that spiritual side that go with it. The fact to kill or sacrifice an animal. So the vegetable were more like. Nowadays, they look like a side, but before they used to be the main course, because again, the soil has all the nutriment and everything. So there was a really after the war that shift the way we were consuming, because we need to produce to feed all the people to go to war and this kind of thing. So that shift, and we didn't really took the time if it was still needed in our modern society. We don't need to consume like this. We're not going in war.
No, exactly. And that's why I kind of think like another probably simple way to put a good diet is what your grandparents or great grandparents ate.
Yeah.
Because chances are, they loaded up on fruit and veg and stuff that was locally sourced and cheap, but full of vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals and all the good stuff. And then there might have been some meat and stuff, but it was not like 3 meals a day. And, you can even get kind of meat snacks and like all this protein snacks and stuff. It's just so not needed.
And I think the important, you just say 3 meals of a day. I think it's important to listen to the body when you are hungry, and not to automate that processes of feeding yourself.
Yeah. That's probably the biggest difference between a weight problem and not a weight problem. So when we're kind of like down on ourselves and we don't trust ourselves with our weight, we don't trust our body with our weight.
True.
Then we want to find diets that tell us what to eat, when to eat, etc. And then,
so
that was really my journey, being so kind of confused that I was always looking for outside advice. And then meanwhile, I could have friends that really just seemed to, go wherever the wind took them that day and would eat the thing or not eat the thing. And now I know that basically it comes down to when you're eating, you're either permission based, you're either thinking I'm allowed it or not allowed.
What do you think about having a food diary?
When I'm working with clients, see some of them would have like binge eating disorder, feeling nice in my belly, overeating, and I'd be trying to, teach them all these listening to your tongue and your signals, and how your body's feeling, and then that will be different and all the rest of it. So in my line of work, like it's handy, I think maybe when you're working with a professional. But I think the dark side of all of it is when I had all my own issues, I used to use, say, my Fitness Pal and those tracking apps a lot.
Yeah.
And, like this is the whole thing. Even how you've already spoken about nutrition kind of tells me that you're coming from a place of love. You're coming from a place of bettering yourself.
Yeah.
But sometimes
It was a
there's
journey too.
yeah, but sometimes when people are more obsessed with weight, or some people who are interested in nutrition, it's actually more manipulation.
Mhm.
It's like, how can I get my body to lose weight fast? Or,
Mhm.
you know, what foods will like force weight loss and all the
Mhm.
rest of it. And then it becomes like this controlling game.
True.
And
The
it's
mind.
it's the opposite again of listening to your body, because I remember doing things that like the app would tell me you must eat this amount of calories per
Mhm.
day, which is already ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
as if they know that.
Because they don't take in consideration so many variables. Because
you
it's not
couldn't
only
possibly
about
know.
your BMI, it's about as well your muscles, your genetic.
Yeah.
You know,
And your stress levels and your
Yeah.
sleep levels and what stage you're at in your cycle
Yeah.
and how much you ate yesterday and how much you exercised yesterday. It's like the list is endless. To
Mhm.
like, unless you were lying in a DEXA scanner, it's called, there's no way of knowing
Mhm.
how much calories
You will
will need.
per day. Yeah. And I think it's really important to say it.
Yeah.
Because those apps are as well misleading us.
Yeah, because I remember there was times that like I had done my eating for the day or whatever, but there was 300 calories left.
Mhm.
So even though I wasn't hungry, I'd be like,
Yeah.
yes, 300 calories of Nutella. And I was constantly like hoarding
True.
calories or points for Nutella or chocolate.
Mhm.
And yet again, it didn't matter whether I was in the mood for it or it tasted nice or it felt nice. It was all about like, I'm allowed to have it. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, you can kind of see there's a kind of broken way of looking at it all that doesn't help.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. As an entrepreneur, how do you enjoy that journey as well in the wellness industry?
I've loved it so far. I'm in business 7 years now. And like, I think basically why I started my business was I worked with a company where, in fairness to the boss, she was a smart lady.
Mhm.
There was like me, there was personal trainers, and this was like in a posh area in London. And we were aware of how much the clients were paying. And then we were aware of how much we were getting paid.
Hello.
And something didn't add up. So like, as in, I noticed from like, it was the best thing in the world for me that they gave me lots of responsibility. You know, they could leave me run the show.
Mhm.
And that was great because, you know, just the cogs kept turning in my brain that I was like, I could technically do this myself.
Yeah, true.
And then I could offer a service that's more in line with my beliefs and stuff. Because sometimes, you know, we had clients that just wanted to get as skinny as possible. There was nothing too skinny. And like, you know, obviously.
Yeah, it's not healthy.
No.
You're just, again, selling something, but you're not adding value to the life of somebody else.
No, you're actually kind of feeding their problems. Do you know what I mean? So I set up my business when I was still over in London, and then I brought it back to Ireland. And I have to say as well, the facilities kind of for starting your business in the UK and in Ireland, I found very, very helpful. Because in the UK, like I went on the dole or whatever, I went on benefits before I started up.
Okay.
And I went on a course, a business course, and they really took you through absolutely everything. And then when I moved back to Ireland, I got in touch with the local enterprise office.
Yeah.
And they paid for my website twice now. I think I've done my website twice. They paid for all of that, I think, as far as I know. And they do so much courses, so much networking. And so I think that's invaluable.
Really yeah, true. Yeah. Especially when you start, you know, sometimes you feel a bit all over the place.
Yeah.
So it's important to have those infrastructure that really put the foundation and that are there. It's important as well to share that information for people who try and to be an example, because I like the fact that you just said that I was hired for a company, but I observed my environment and I observed that I could do better than them and benefit myself and grow into that journey by putting my vision out.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so important to still be aware while you're walking into something, for something, to be able to expand yourself.
And you're putting your unique stamp on it. And, you know, all of that takes balls, obviously. Because,
yeah, it does.
You know, like as in, I could probably make a lot more money if I worked in rapid weight loss. Like I worked in rapid weight loss before. Like so many people are looking to lose weight really, really fast.
Yeah.
And like for me now, I just literally can't have anything to do with that because I know they'll lose 6 kilos and then gain 8.
Yeah, the yo-yo effect.
Yeah.
Famously.
So it's so unethical. So
Yeah.
like, you know, it was quite challenging to begin with to kind of go out there and talk more about, like, say, your self-hypnosis and your mind coaching and all of that, because people are like, oh, just shut up and tell me crisps are bad and apples are good. And I'm like, but that's not what it comes down to at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, really the part of the mind is really important because it will unblock so many things. It will unblock the rest, your physical, your emotion, the way. But as long as you keep yourself into that mindset, you will not grow and you won't be able to achieve your goal.
Yeah.
Because it's not a goal anymore, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so many people think that the trying to achieve the healthy weight for them is a goal. But you need to balance your weight on a daily basis in order to function at your best. So for that, you need to put the effort, the emotion, and the work that require daily.
Yeah, because I think it's the person you're becoming. And I don't think it's a journey, actually. Like in a moment, you're either being the person you want to become or you're not.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same with how we treat our body. And there's two things that I suppose the mind really have to do with all of that is that, first of all, we can be stuck in this old identity.
Yeah.
We can be like,
True.
well, I'm the chubby sister, or I'm the chubby friend, or, you know, I'm the one who always has weight problems, or I'm the one who can't say no to cake. And people have these storylines.
You repeat.
And they just keep repeating them. And they're not even true. Like a lot of my clients would say stuff like, I always finish my plate. I'm like, okay, always means 100% of the time. So you're saying every single day of your entire life, you've always finished. Like, as in, no one can be that sure of anything. So that identity, we have to kind of loosen and get away with that, from that identity, and start seeing ourselves as something different. True. And like, you know, you'd know all about that because just even how you introduced the podcast and kind of manifesting and becoming. And, you know, it is about like, we have to kind of let go of who we've been and familiarize ourselves with how our goal could work with who we are and our life and all the rest of it. Because there was so many like little eureka moments that I had for myself and my own weight. But I was like, ultimately, if I am to become slim and stay slim, I will still need to eat a fry up with my family some Saturdays. I will need to get Chinese takeaway with them some Friday nights. Like, I still want to be willing to go out with my friends and drink too much. It's like those kind of things have to stay. Do you know what I mean? You have to be kind of sure of, like, you could still be a slim person and do those things, basically.
True.
We don't see that when we're doing the black and white. I'm either on a diet, off a diet, being good or not, do you know?
Yeah, you're totally correct. And it just remind me as well, because I grew in an environment where I was the tallest. So, and all my friends, they were really healthy and skinny. So they were 36, 34, and I was tall, fitness, muscular kind of. So it was always a trigger at the early age when I wanted to fit into a 30 and I was, my leg, it's not moving. So those triggers are already there at the early age when we are not even aware of it. You know?
I know. And it's like, I don't think anyone, you know, survives or gets away with no comments, to be honest, because even when I was interviewing my slim friend that I grew up with, who's never dieted and she's always been slim, you know, I was all like, oh, you had it so easy and, you know, whatever. And she was like, people used to call me scrawny and scrawny and skinny and all of these horrible things at school. So like just that whole teenage...
It was not cool for them either.
No.
I think everyone at some point can get bullied by the appearance and the body that they are carrying.
Yeah.
So, because for the norm, it should look like, oh, it's okay, she has the perfect body. But even like this, there is a group of type of people who will find something to tell you. So
this is it.
Yeah.
But that's why I kind of think that it's maybe worse, you know, in teenage life when people are insecure, because it's totally like, hey, if I put her down, doesn't that make me less of a loser kind of thing? You know, it's all about that. Like, it's not really coming from a good place. It's coming from insecurity.
It is. Most of the time, you know.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the name Happy Weight?
So there was a few things. The first of all, so I was dieting from probably the age to from 11 to maybe 28 or something like that. Just diet after diet, which obviously was binge, overeat, new diet, just constant cycle and all the rest of it. And then I remember going to a life coach, and he told me that you think you'll be happy once you get the thing, but actually you have to be happy to get the thing.
Yes.
And that was it was
game changer.
It was a game changer, but it was also really, really hard, because how do you change the habits of a lifetime? How do you change from thinking it's important to give yourself grief about your body? It's important to wake up every morning, find the negatives in the mirror. Yeah. It's important to overanalyze what you ate all the last few days and give out to yourself for it. I thought those things were extremely important in order to motivate myself to eat better. But sure, all they were doing was making me feel like a constant failure and stuck. So what he was saying is just, pretty much celebrate here.
Be in the present.
Be in the present. Yeah. And now I kind of say to clients and stuff, wear your body today like you chose it from the wardrobe. You intentionally chose this body from the wardrobe today, and you're going to be a great representation of it. And it's whatever size you are, be the best size, whatever you are in Cork today, fly the flag for it. And not that you're going to be there forever, but kind of quite the opposite. I think the sad thing is that our body is always changing. You know what I mean? So I'm I don't really have issues with my weight now, but now I find it quite hard to be positive about aging.
Okay.
So I'm you could just always find something else.
There is always something to say.
There's always something else that you could be negative about. So it's whether we like it or not, our body is changing.
Yeah.
For better or worse, we're not probably going to have this exact same body for long more. And then there's that whole thing that after 7 years, most of the cells in your body have completely replaced themselves.
Yeah.
So if you look at a photo of you 8 years ago, none of that person exists anymore, which is freaky.
True, yeah.
When you think about it, it's kind of really freaky. But in that way, I'm why should we get down about something that's so transitional?
Yeah, because everyone is going through it anyway, and we cannot stop aging, but we can embrace the way we see ourselves aging.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so important because you cannot go against. So you just have to appreciate. And I think by appreciating as well, you realize that the blessing of human experience.
Yeah.
Because it is what it is at the end of the day. It's about enjoying the human experience. So every day it's another experience. So
I know. And it's just that whole thing as well, that there are benefits to every age, aren't there? You know? So
be able to, I don't know, for me, it's not something, and I can understand, but for me, it's not something that I'm worried about it at the moment, because I say at the moment. But for me, I take it as a blessing because I always look back where I come from. And my journey was really particular, like everyone, we are all unique. But I took it as a blessing because I was able to navigate through that madness and still be happy and to meet the people that I wanted to meet, although that we have been separated. So for me, taking my breath every day and say, okay, I will achieve that no matter what, was a blessing for me because I was getting closer from where I wanted to be and see myself.
That's cool.
So yeah, life is a blessing, guys.
It is. And that's the whole thing. It's kind of I think, especially when you do a lot of personal development stuff and that, you can be kind of you're being very entitled to assume you're going to be around next week or next month or 10 years. You're being a bit entitled to even give out about aging.
Yeah.
Because it's some people didn't make it to this age.
Yeah. Let's start from there,
So it's kind of it's just very kind of spoiled or something.
Yeah. There is a lot of information on internet. So how can we navigate through that and advise people? Because again, there is personal coach and they're not specially graduated, but because they find enough information, they think they are entitled to speak up and sometimes guide people to the wrong path as well in terms of diet. So, is there any structure placed in Ireland or in Europe to make sure that people who are giving those information are making sure as well that they're not putting life in danger?
Yeah, I think you're right, because I think, to be honest, with Instagram and stuff, it's basically enough of a qualification to be hot.
Yeah.
Like if you're hot,
Yeah,
you can
you
give
get it
nutritional
all.
advice. That's like the only qualification. And it's like, so like, I suppose some people with like huge followings because they're gorgeous and in bikinis every day or whatever, they do have a big following of people wanting to hear their nutritional opinion, which is like tough. And I know like the dietitian community in the UK, I think they have some ads recently, like as in, you wouldn't get a plumber with no qualification, you know,
Yeah.
you wouldn't get, I don't know, a teacher or whatever.
Yeah.
Like as in, for food, you probably should be looking for a registered dietitian. The tough thing is with a nutritionist is there's some amazing nutritionists. And see, a dietitian can call themselves a nutritionist or a dietitian, but a nutritionist isn't yet a protected title. So you could set up shop tomorrow and call yourself a nutritionist.
Okay.
Whereas you'd be sued if you called yourself a dietitian. So, but I think they're changing that. So I think it will be great once they do kind of register nutritionists as well, because I think then the public can be very, very clear that if you're going to register a dietitian or a registered nutritionist, you should be pretty safe. That's someone who got a degree.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
For the listener, let's break it down. What's the difference between nutritionist and dietitian?
So, like, really, the boring definition, I suppose, is dietitian is disease-related nutrition. So I went to college to study loads of different diseases that have loads of different diets, so that one day I'd work in a hospital. And then nutritionists tend to be more outside of hospitals, optimum health, maybe sports, maybe gut stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like dietitians can do all that too, but nutritionists, unless they're clinical nutritionists, wouldn't really work in a hospital.
Okay.
So yeah, but there's kind of pros and cons to both, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay. And the knowledge about the value of nutriment, both of them, they have the same core education.
Kind of, I suppose, dietitians learn a bit more about the interactions of like drugs and other diseases and like yet again the kind of more clinical medical side of it. I suppose we'd learn in more detail.
Okay, good. I have another question. So what will be your advice that you can give to someone trying to become an entrepreneur in the wellness and health industry?
I think get all the local free support, because what I've noticed from it is that I don't even think people access it. Like, do you know what I mean? I've been to some seminars and stuff that are pretty quiet and you're like, this is free and it's super helpful. Do you know what I mean? So I think if you're in Ireland, sign up to local enterprise office and, you know, there's probably some equivalent wherever you are. And I would really lean on them. And then the other thing is that I think is very important is you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
So when I quit my job, I just kind of like immersed myself in TED Talks and YouTube videos of people that were successful, because then they make it sound like the alphabet.
Yeah.
You know, they're just like, oh, well, it's obviously you'll succeed. Obviously. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in their norm is a really cool norm.
True.
And then maybe when you talk to friends and family, you know, they're like, oh, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot of work. It will take a few years to get off the ground. And you don't need any of that, because basically, like, your expectations will always come true. So if you think it will take a few years to get off the ground, it will. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you need to be realistic with the effort that you want to put in order to achieve your goals. So
exactly.
Don't lie to yourself.
yeah. But you could, you know, if you wanted to, if you were kind of like, no, I'd say I'm going to be financially viable in whatever many months. Like, if that was what you kept spoon feeding your brain, I think your brain would figure it out.
True.
You know,
because like I think it always starts with a thought, and that thought became a belief.
Yeah, it's practice thought.
So
yeah. So I think like really protect your influences, and like I 4 siblings and my 2 parents and my friends at home and stuff. I don't think I told anyone about my business until I was actually seeing clients.
Okay, yeah.
Because I was like, I don't need any like, are you sure? Like, well, yeah, you know what I mean?
Doubts, yeah.
You don't need it. Like you just want like people who will bring you up, and they tend to be people who've got dreams as big as you or bigger dreams. Like they'll bring you up, you know?
I totally agree with you on that. You really need to vibrate with people who are on the same frequency than you or higher.
Yeah.
That's where you grow.
Yeah.
You leave the space for growth, because if you stay in the same environment, you won't be challenged.
No.
And you want to create something new. So in order to create something new, you need to be in the uncomfortable zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But it's so hard. It's so hard. Yeah, it's not that easy.
It is. And even that's one kind of, like, I think from London to here, it was like there was a lot of like more networking stuff and that in London, and then you thought you'd be doing well, and then you'd go to someone or you know meet other people in business, and you're like, oh God, I need to like up my game.
Yeah,
you know what
true.
I mean?
Compare
and it's like
yourself.
That's really good to meet people where you're like, okay, I gotta up my game. You know.
That's so true. So thank you for this advice. It was really nice to talk to you. Guys, don't forget to follow her on Instagram on happyweight.ie. Yeah. She has a website as well. And when you click on the link, you have all the information to follow her. Thank you, Aoife, for coming with us.
Thank you so much,
being with us today.
Thank you so
I
much.
really
That was
appreciate.
lots of fun.
A last thought to share for the year to come?
Oh my God. I think be very kind to yourself and be extremely individual. Like your journey to better health, the answers aren't out there. You're not going to find them in a book or in a professional, because no one ever has been exactly as you are. So I think your aim is to feel good today, physically and mentally.
That's so true. I really agree with her. So thank you guys for listening Ankh Fusion podcast. If you enjoy, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and don't forget to activate the bell so you will get notification. And my last word for me is eat what you want, whenever you want, from a position of love and self-care. It was Gigi. Bye.